All right, here we are at yet another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. And man, am I super glad, Peter, that we changed our intro to be very patriotic. Because I definitely
And why is
feel
that,
that
Bill?
way these days. I feel that way these days. I feel like the country is going back to our core values, and we're going to be a bunch of patriotic people that are just going to stick up for our rights, and we're going to go like hell. So there you go.
Understand.
That's my 2 cents. I say that because I believe it's going to affect the real estate world big time, but that's for another discussion some other day. So here we are, podcast number 442. And today's title of the podcast is Leads, Deals, Cash. Proven, rudimentary, creative real estate processes.
Good.
The description is as follows, without the cough. Are you in the real estate game, chasing the big bucks, but are not actually building anything? Spinning your wheels, hoping for a lucky break? Or do you need and want a proven, creative real estate system that's step by step, so you can easily follow that to print out cash while you are still learning? Forget all the fluff the gurus give as a pipe dream. Let's talk about the bare bones basics you need to actually move the needle on your income and success. And I'm not talking about fancy strategies or complex maneuvers. It's about understanding the fundamentals while maximizing your returns on effort and time. Today's framework and formulas will clarify where to put your time and resources for gargantuan deals the others only wish they had. But we are not going to sugarcoat it. This is about putting in the correct, exact work so you can reap profits within the next 30 days. If you are serious about replacing income and building wealth, this is the first podcast episode of many to come with a new technology in today's economy. Let me show you. Now, just in case you didn't get the gist of it, because I didn't write it, because I didn't really want to and thought I would kind of like slide over it. But now that I'm on the air reading it, I have to point out the fact.
No dancing around it. Come on.
It's about putting the correct, exact work so you can reap profits within the next 30 days. That's the 80-20 rule.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
What is that 20% of activity that will give you 80% of your money in real estate?
That's what you mean, the exact right steps to do.
And I want to fess up here. I truly want to fess up here.
Okay.
Because I have been doing something very odd. Picture that, me doing something odd.
Oh, yeah. That goes without saying. So what's your point?
I've been introspecting because I need to deal with a few things in my life, and I have a few turning points. I've just turned 61. I have some pressures on myself. I have things I want to do, and I'm bending my own system to work for me.
Bending,
pushing, kicking my own system to work for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I've gone back to kindergarten, and I'm wondering why some things are working and why some things aren't.
Sure.
So just keep that in mind when you're listening to this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as housekeeping things, there's not very much to say. I've been giving away some amazing tools. I have a couple of new tools coming out. We have I have a newsletter coming out that should be out in a couple weeks. We have a call analyzer so you can analyze your own seller calls. I have made a comp machine so you can compare, so you can get comparables. And I actually have 24/7 me answering questions. I built my own AI, so you're asking me questions and I'm answering them. So I have those tools, and I have a couple more coming after that. I just got to figure out how to get a couple of them going. Not to mention Creative REI Replay, who is the software company I'm partners in, has made very, very, very concrete plans the first quarter or this next quarter of the year to actually have robots do outbound calls. And actually, Sean is generating a offer blaster right now. So that means that here in a couple weeks, probably before the next 2 or 3 podcasts are done, we're going to, in the software, have an offer blaster. So we're not just going to send texts. What we're going to do is we're going to take the people that come in, we're going to go out, scrape the internet, we're going to get comps, and then we're going to send offers based on comps before we even talk to the seller.
Crazy.
So I tell you these things not to brag. I tell you these things not to take up time on the podcast. I just tell you things are changing. I am definitely bending and pushing my limits because I don't think I'm doing enough. I want to help more people. I myself want to grow. So I figured the only way I could do that is to rely on my own system to do that. So if I teach it, I must be able to do it. So all I'm saying is that if you want to go on that growth period with me, I have new mastermind group starting. I have newsletters on that. I'm going to be doing a once a week newsletter on all this stuff. And if you want to get into that fold, that private fold, you should send a support ticket into Flipping Houses for Rookies or go to flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com. And I will send you links and send you places where you can go find these, because right now they're underground, and because I'm not ready to have thousands of people doing this stuff until I've tested it and I know what's going on. Okay? So that said, let's get into today's podcast, unless you have something to say about that, Peter.
I say I'm with you. Let's go.
Okay, good. Perfect.
Yeah. It's a new year.
Yeah, well, it's a new chapter for me. It has nothing to do with the time on the calendar. It's just a new chapter. I have had a couple things happen to me on some of my multifamily houses that are kind of yucky. So I've kind of regrouped and decided that it doesn't have to be this way anymore. I don't need 1 or 2 people ruining my life and bringing me, down into the dumps because I did everything right and they didn't, and they're not capable of my help.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
Yep.
All right, the heck with that, Peter. That's my personal life. We don't need to be here right now. So here's my first question for today. Have you been in a McDonald's or a Wendy's, maybe an Outback or a Texas Roadhouse lately? All restaurants, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I ask because if you have, you might have noticed that once you are across their threshold or their front door, well, you really can't distinguish what city or state you're in, can you?
No, it's true. They're very, very uniform. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which means on a quick observation, those national food chains must have methods or specific courses of actions in a series or steps to achieve a particular end, as you say, very uniform. Mm-hmm. Or how is it that when I travel the country, I could get a Big Mac that tastes exactly the same way in the same exact bag in Wallingford as I can in California?
That's right.
Right? I can go from Connecticut to California. And I've been in Canada, and they're the same in Canada. Right? So this brings me to my next point, right? When we enter into any of these national locations, we expect a specific type of food and service wherever we are, right? So we're going to McDonald's to get to get a Big Mac or a quarter pounder or whatever you're going to get. Right?
Whopper, baby, Whopper. Burger King. Sorry.
That's Burger King. Yeah.
I haven't been to these places in a long time.
or maybe you're walking into a Roadhouse. I go to Roadhouse with my buddies two towns up, and I pretty much order the same thing. I mean, I vary a little bit, but I know what I'm getting.
Right. It's consistent. You know, you don't want to have things change on you. One day it's good, one day it's bad. People won't come back if they can't spend money and expect that they're going to get what they want.
Right.
No.
You know, it's no different than walking into a Kohl's or, you know, a department store or, you know, I mean, grocery stores are a little bit different because they're not national chains, which you ever think about that? There really isn't a national grocery store chain.
Yeah, regional, right? But not completely, no. Well, you know, there are some things like Whole Foods or Trader Joe's. You can find those in pockets here and there.
Or Walmart serving food, right?
Yeah.
Walmart is a grocery store now. They're the only ones, but there is one that's like in Connecticut. There's a Stop and Shop, and when I go to Florida, it's Publix.
Yeah.
And when I go out west, I don't even know what's out there, right? Like for example, out west, there's In-N-Out burgers. There's none of those on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm. Yep, there's limitations.
So that's for a reason, I'm sure. In business, money's attracted to a wanted or valuable final outcome or a product or service. So how does a business make money, Peter? What did I just say?
Well, money is attracted to either a service or a product, but the person would have to know it's something good, something that they want, product or service.
And it's more valuable than their hard-earned money, right?
They're willing to fork it over because they want what you got.
So if I go into an Outback and I order $35 worth of food, that $35 worth of food has to be more valuable than my $35, right?
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I wouldn't fork over my $35.
Nope.
Right? So that tells me if someone is lacking money in this world, right? They don't have something that is complete and ready to sell that someone else thinks is valuable enough to exchange for.
Mm.
So if you want to be a millionaire and you're only making $50,000 a year, you need to take a look at your world or what you're producing or what you're doing for others to only attract $1,000 a month. I mean, a week.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you doing?
Sure.
Or what are you not doing? Right? So I wish I could find this again because I use it in my head a lot.
Mm-hmm.
This is like a stable datum for me. You know, somewhere I read, God, I cannot remember where I read it. Right? Chris is back. Good morning, Chris. Happy New Year, buddy.
Hey, Chris.
The more people that owe you money, the wealthier you become. Right? Like banks, they lend money, right?
Yeah.
They don't even lend money. They lend paperwork. The money's fake, right?
And they push it. They push it.
Oh, you're not going to believe this, Peter. Oh my God, I didn't even tell you this.
What?
Oh my God.
What?
Huh. Oh my God, I forgot to tell you this. I can't believe I forgot to tell you this. I did a Subject 2 event last weekend.
Yeah.
And it was private. I only wanted 30 people. I think I had 26 people there, right?
Mm-hmm.
On that event, it was a whole day event. It was like 7 hours. There was one of my students from Creative RER Reply that interviewed the author of Creature from Jekyll Island. And he's got signed copies of the book from the author.
Oh, I thought it was an older book where the guy'd be dead. So he's around.
That's what I said. He's still alive. He goes, yeah, he's pretty old, but he's still alive.
Remember the name? I don't know. I don't know the name. Do you?
Yeah, I have to look it up. He's sending me a sign. He emailed me and asked for my address. He's mailing me a signed version from the author. I'm so excited.
Bill, we got to get him on the show.
Yeah, you're right. I should. Huh?
We just have to explain what a podcast is and what a computer is and what the internet is.
All right, so enough of the diversion. So today I'm laying down the gauntlet or declaring a new technology in creative real estate so everyone can be like these national food chains with their creative real estate. Basically, so creative real estate looks the same no matter who or where it is done or used. Which means the first thing is to realize where our money is in real estate and where it comes from. Right? So, like him or not, I don't care, but Donald J. Trump follows the money. It's obvious that he gets things done with these foreign leaders in foreign countries because he follows the money. I'll put tariffs on there if you don't listen to me, right? It sounds bullyish, but the money is what the puppet strings are, right? And so you need to take a look at in your life, your puppet strings and what's controlling you. And is it a money-making activity, right? I listened to this week, Alex Hormozy just came out with, I listened to his podcasts, which are also YouTubes. He's talking about branding. And I never thought of branding the way he did, about how it makes you money and how it provokes people to do business with you. Like, I'm going into a McDonald's and I'm not asking if the burger's going to be good. I'm going in to purchase. I'm a purchaser. I'm not shopping. I'm not looking around. I'm not testing. I'm going in because I got to get some fast food and I know that I can trust a McDonald's burger. That's branding, right? So what can we do to brand or put together or rally creative real estate to do this? So that's why I'm kind of laying down the gauntlet. I'm going to start generate. This is a basic core strategy that is laid out so that anybody can follow it. I don't care if you're new or old. And before I get done, which is not yet, which I've written, I'm in the middle of writing a book. I'm halfway through the book. The book will be out soon about this whole thing with all the details. On top of, I have expectations, which is not done yet, but to test creative real estate entrepreneurs to see what their knowledge is and where they should start in this system. Right? But first, we need to name what is our product? What is our service? What are we going to get paid for? Right? And that is to what we're going to get paid for from our buyers and from our sellers is to generate and complete a transaction that both buyer and seller can't say no to. Right? It's too valuable for them, for everybody in the deal. Right? Like I've talked about so many times, like if you go into a bar, right, you know, like the old discos, I'm showing my boomer days, and the stool, the tables are 4 feet tall, right, so you can stand around them.
Right.
To me, that's what a closing table looks like, you know. So at a closing table at a specific date and time, all the parties that are involved are going to show up to that table. It's like a poker game, and all the money is going to get thrown in the middle of the table, and then the closing agent's going to divvy up all the like a bank robbery, you know, like, you know, all the people, like, here's your cut, here's your cut, here's your cut, right? It's a bad
that's perfect, but it's also gruesome.
Right? So that's what a closing table is. Here's the truth. If we did a good job, people will show up at that closing table that need to show up at that closing table without confirming them or begging them or pushing them or prodding them or anything. They just show up on their own volition. They're not going to say, oh, my daughter's birthday is that day. They're not going to say, oh, I'm playing golf that day. They're not going to say, oh, I have to work that day. Or they're not going to say, they're going to move everything in their life to show up at that table. And when you understand creative real estate and talk about the stuff I'm talking about today, you too would do this. You would move your life to know how you can make 70, 80, 100 grand in one transaction. You too would move away all the thoughts you have in your head, all the fears and all the devils on your shoulder. I told you that I think the last podcast, one of the books I'm reading right now, which is such a fascinating book. It's a little bit different, but it's Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil. It is an incredible book. 70 years they didn't publish it. Now I see why, because if he published it 70 years ago, they would have probably locked him up because it's incredible. But I have to, just because of what he went through, what he's doing and his mental visions and talking to people in his head, it's a little bit, it seems spooky. But if you get through all of that, the concepts are just phenomenal. Mm. It's one of the best books I think I've ever read.
It sounds fascinating. So, I'm gonna go get it. It sounds fascinating. I like the guy.
Yeah, Outwitting the Devil. Yeah. So our valuable final product that we get exchanged for, something that we are going to do, and if you do this enough times, you will be a millionaire. There's not, you could be. This is for everyone in America. If you do this enough times, you will be a real estate millionaire. And that's to generate and complete a transaction that both buyer and seller can't say no to. It's too valuable to them. They flock to you like steel to a magnet. So you need to figure out how can you generate and complete a transaction that both the buyer and seller can't say no to. How do you do that once or twice or 5 times a month? So your pipeline is consistently full and they're just falling off because you're just always doing the next step in each deal. Right? Does this make sense?
It does.
Okay. This is great theory, I think. Right? But how do we actually do this, especially when we're new in real estate? The answer is we test before we invest. Using our formula, money now, money monthly, money later, as the gauge. Right? This is like teaching somebody how to drive.
Yeah.
The money now, money monthly, money later is the speedometer. Because you'll start at 5 miles an hour and then do 20 miles an hour. And then next thing you know, you're a teenager and you're on the highway trying to do 120 miles an hour. Because you want to test the car. We've all done it. Maybe not 120. Some of us are old enough that the cars didn't go that fast. Nah, probably not. Back then we had fast cars, didn't we, Peter? We had muscle cars.
That's right. 326 bucket seat Le Mans, 1967.
There you go.
That's right.
They sold brand new for $5,000, and now they sell for $150,000, $200,000.
No, like 2,700.
2,700. There you
Swear to God. Yeah.
So, how are we going to generate and complete a transaction that both the buyer and seller can't say no to? Well, we need to figure that out, right? We need to test before we invest using the formula money now, money monthly, money later. And when you use these two formulas together, you'll soon realize how to quickly analyze a deal. Right? How to analyze its market, its risk, how much time or resources you can put in it or spend on each transaction, and wonder and stop wondering or guessing if this is something you should do. Because when you use the formula, you use what I'm about to teach you, right? You won't ever worry about it, right? I mean, face it, Peter. Could I teach you how to swim without ever putting you in a body of water?
Oh, nah. No. It would be theoretical. Nope.
Right. So I got a question here. Eric is asking, do you believe in leveraging debt? Yes, I do. We're going to talk about that today. So now that's what I'm trying to do right now is too many people are trying to learn how to swim and never jumping in the water. Right? Can you learn how to drive without sitting behind the steering wheel of a car? Right? Can you learn how to have sex without the opposite sex or some other person, I should say? Right? No, you can't. Right? Can you learn how to walk without standing up? No. Right? So now what I've done is I've designed 6-step system to exactly all of these, which I'm going to give to you today. Now, if you remember, Peter, because you were around when I first released this stuff, because until you came around, I really didn't talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
So I have the 7 steps of deal strategy, or 7 types of deal strategies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the way we know which deal strategy to use in the past has been based on the equity of the property. Because we can negotiate the equity, we can't negotiate somebody's loan and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's been 10 years we've been talking about that, definitely on this podcast.
Sure.
Would you say that's a core part of my system?
Yeah, because that's a reality that people don't think of. They talk about the price of the house, but what good is having a $400,000 value house if you owe like $390? Right. You know?
I'm telling you, what I'm going to release today is bigger than that. It will be with us for another decade. This is the beginning of a new era.
Wow. And
I can't believe I even came up with this. And if I tell you the story of how it happened, you would laugh your ass off. Okay? But I'm not going to do that today. But before I release these 4 stages, I want you to realize all of your money in every deal comes from your buyer, not your seller. You need to know that. If you want money, you need to have the person that's going to give you or find it valuable. Remember, we need to have a transaction that's valuable to a buyer because the buyer is going to supply the deal with money.
Right.
They're going to pay us. They're going to pay the seller. They're going to pay off liens. They're going to do repairs. They're going to do all the things that are needed and wanted in a property that is for sale. Without buyers, you got a hobby. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter about the sellers. We've spent so much time trying to learn how to talk to sellers and how to handle sellers so we can get a piece of inventory. Mm-hmm. And the truth is, some of us have taken a decade trying to talk to sellers and get a piece of inventory so we can go show it off to the buyers, and we're doing it wrong. And flipping it on its head. So to attract money in real estate, we need to use the seller's property.
True.
Right? And we need to get this property on consignment, a.k.a. no money, but the right to sell it. So the buyer can come open his or her wallet and feed the dreams of our sellers and us and anybody else in the deal. Because if you don't put it on the market and you don't attract a buyer, then the money doesn't come. The money comes from the buyer. So you need to have inventory to attract buyers to get money. Amen. Also recognize this is exactly what a realtor does. They sign a listing agreement, and you might as well say a consignment agreement.
Right.
And then starts hunting for a buyer to pay the seller and the realtor. This is exactly how the realtor's been doing it for 70 years. Why are we not doing that? Why are we not even talking about it? Why have I done this for 30 plus years and just now figured this out? I'm a dumbass. It took me a long time. It took me 3 decades. I got it. But now I understand it, and I'm going to stand on every steeple in the world I can and preach it to the cities. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how do we do this? Right? So what I'm about to tell you is actually a new apprenticeship or hands-off program. This
Hands
is an
off.
hands off. I'm sorry, hands on. I said hands off. I
Okay.
didn't mean that. Yeah, thank you.
No, I thought it might be a new angle.
No, I didn't mean to say that. So
Okay.
this is an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
This is a hands on. You can learn, you can earn while you learn. And it's the latest technology. Okay? Because the truth is, real estate is made to take money out of it, not put money into it if you follow the right steps and if you know how to do it. Unfortunately, guys like me have figured out how to do it, but to teach it to you is not so easy until today's podcast. And the book will be on the market soon. Here are the stages. There's 6 of them. I'm going to name them, and then I'm going to explain them.
Okay.
Fair enough?
Cool. Yeah.
Stage 1 is foundation building. You start with stage 1. Now realize we're testing before we're investing, and we're looking where's the money now, money monthly, money later. I'm going to explain all that in a minute. But stage 1 is foundation building, which is using slot deals. We always start with a slot deal. Why do we always start with a slot deal? Because in a slot deal, by the way, if it's your first time here, is a sandwich lease option transfer where you actually get a 3-year or 36-month lease with an option, and you go find a buyer and sell that option to them. So you're assigning option agreements, or wholesaling, as they say. You're assigning option agreements, right? So you're going to get a seller to give you a 3-year lease, and you're going to go find a buyer, and you're going to buy that 3-year lease with an option for $100, and then you're going to sell it for 5% of market value of the house, right? Excuse me. Right? So what happens is, hang on. You're doing this because you're going to, and I'm going to tell you how you do this. Why would the seller do this? I'm going to cover that in a minute. Okay. Stage 2. You're going to use creative real estate to do all cash deals without debt or borrowing other money. That's where we use options. Stage 3. This is where we start to work on cash flow for freedom. Stage 3 is where we're doing a rent to own, and we're going to test how to do that. We're still in a testing mode. Stage 1, 2, and 3 is all testing. It's using options, and you're not committed. You don't have deeds in your name, and you can walk away anytime you want, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. Stage 4 is where you start to wealth build. Right? Stage 4 is where you're going to do subject to owner financing, wraparound mortgages, that kind of thing.
Right.
And then stage 5 is your portfolio expansion. This is where you're going to do advanced scale. And then stage 6 is your freedom achievement. That's where you're hands off and you have systems and processes all in place. Stage 6 is our McDonald's or our Texas Roadhouse. Who owns that roadhouse? Is he there?
No, that's like the business owner. He just owns them and people run them and he collects money.
There you go. So stage 6 is our McDonald's or our Roadhouse building where others are implementing our systems. All right, now let's break these down one by one. Here we go. Stage 1 is our money now activity. We're only making money now. Here, we are testing your buyer by using a sandwich lease option transaction that you're not going to stay into. So here's what happens in a nutshell. You're going to have a seller ask you $300,000 or $400,000, we'll say $300,000 for their house. You're not going to negotiate. You're not going to do anything. Say the only way I could pay you $300,000 is if I make monthly payments until I can pay you off without any landlord obligations and as is condition. No negotiating, right? And then here's what happens. You bribe that seller by showing them how they could make 33 to 35% over market value. Because when they do this transaction, they're going to get cash flow. They're going to get, because of the way the market is, we're going to get cash flow. They're going to get principal reduction every time they make a payment. The seller makes a payment. The buyer makes a payment. The seller's going to make his payment, and they're going to get more equity in their property. Then we're going to be able to get depreciation and appreciation. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That adds up to, over the course of 33 years, $33,000. So on a $300,000 house, you're promising the seller, because it will happen, and we have a calculator that will help you do this. You're getting almost $400,000. They're getting almost $400,000 for the house. So they're getting $100,000 over market value. Right? So we're bribing the seller to do this with an offer they can't resist. They can't say no to it if they actually listen.
Mm.
We're testing here. There's no risk. We're essentially buying and selling an option agreement and controlling the property without owning it. On top of giving them our Grand Slam offer and bribing them with the 33 to 35% markup. So here's what happens. We buy the property for $300,000 on an option, or we get an option agreement or the right to buy the property, not the obligation, for $300,000.
Mm-hmm.
We mark the price of the property up 5%. So now it's a $315,000 property. So we're getting 5% of the market value of the property as our profit. That's what we earned in the deal, was that 5%. And if you're worried about marking a property up 5%, all I do is beg you to take a look at today's system. If I were to sell you my computer today for $1,000 and you gave me $1,000 in cash, you paid $1,000. But if you gave me $1,000 today and on your credit card and paid over the next 24 months, you're no longer paying $1,000. We're doing the same exact thing for houses. Somebody that doesn't have $300,000 and can't get qualified for a mortgage will gladly give you $15,000 down for 5%. If they went and got an FHA mortgage, they have to put down 5%.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, they're going to have to put down all the closing costs, which is another 2 or 3%. So the buyer is going to jump all over this deal because it's actually cheaper for them, it's better for them, and it's good for our seller. But here's the point. When you start talking about this to your buyers, you're going to find out from your buyers all about the house. They're going to do the due diligence for you, just like a realtor does, like the realtor does due diligence. If you go to realtor school, they don't teach you how to negotiate. They don't teach you how to do deal structuring. Why are we studying doing deal structuring? Why are we spending so much time trying to learn all these things when we don't need to? What we need to do is attract the buyer to a house and do a transaction. By the way, the buyer is the one that's going to create the transaction, because they're going to say, well, the basement's wet. There's a spaceship in the attic. There's a nuclear plant around the corner. I only want to give you 5 cents. Or the school system is amazing. There's a Whole Foods down the street. My wife loves the front lawn and the 4 bedrooms. We don't have to paint it. We don't have to do nothing. All we have to do is move in. I will gladly give you $15,000 and move in. How much are the payments?
Mm-hmm.
So when you start doing these deals, you are not obligated to do the deal. You're going to put up, I put up 100. You could put up $1. So you're going to put anywhere from $1 to $100 in for the option agreement. And then you're going to go test your buyers. You're going to test the market, right? Phase 2. So the seller says, I don't want to take monthly payments. It's a greed deal. The first one is a need deal. For stage 1 is where people need to sell and they're willing to get more money. Actually, it's backwards. You and I not argue, but we contemplate this, because a slot deal is really a greed deal because they're getting 33% more than their market value, right? But stage 2 is where the seller says, I don't want to do terms, or I don't want monthly cash flow. right? Now, realize, Peter, the difference between stage 1 and stage 2 is stage 1, we're converting our seller from a liability, owner having a liability, aka this house, and turning it into an asset.
Exactly.
And they become the bank, technically.
Mm-hmm.
Stage 2, they have a liability, and the only thing they think they can replace that liability is with cash. And they just want out of it, and they can't see it any other way, right? So they're looking for the cash. They're looking for their equity in the property, right? Now, here's what happens on stage 1. As long as we get a 5 to 10% discount. Now, the seller's going to have to pay a realtor 5% minimum. I mean, it's more than that in closing costs, but they're going to have to pay the realtor at least 5%, sometimes 6% to go find their buyer.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Sure.
So they can give us we can't collect the fee because we don't have a license. So what we need to do is we need to get an option agreement signed with them. And because we sign an option agreement, we're getting, if we put up $100, we're getting $100 worth of equity in the property. And the law doesn't say there's any amount of equity you need. You're now part owner of that property. If you give them $1, you get $1 worth of equity in that property. And now all of a sudden you are part owner in this property. You could sell it as a part owner based on the option agreement language. Right? So now because we have a minute equity share in the property, right? We're part owner and we don't need to have a license. Now let's just do this real quick. You got a $400,000 house, you get a 5% discount. That's $20,000 off the price.
Mm-hmm.
That means you're signing an option agreement for $380,000. So the creative part of it is instead of just putting it on the market for $400,000 and blending in with all the other properties and nobody really looks at it unless it's an exceptional house, you have to have something of value for the buyer to come look at you. The value is just add $5,000 for your pocket money or your profit for doing the deal. Right? The professionals are going to do the deal. You're going to turn it over. You're going to do a purchase and sales agreement. You're going to turn it over to a mortgage person. You're going to turn it over to a lawyer or a closing agent. You're not doing anything after that other than just having a few conversations here and there to make sure everything's going on. It's not really that hard. Just like a realtor. Right? So you're going to get $5,000. But here's the point. You listed that house for $385,000. It's $15,000 below market value. That's value to the buyer, and that's going to flock them to you and say, why is this house $15,000 lower than all the other prices? And sometimes in past markets, we've actually had bidding wars happen.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to put it at a very fair rate. We talk to our realtor buddies. They talk about just list the house for whatever's fair. And if someone's going to overpay for it, let them. But don't gouge it and then have to backtrack on top of that, and reduce things. Just let them bring you out extra money. If they're going to do it, they'll do it.
Worst that can happen is you're going to get a survey of what houses are worth in that area. They're going to come back and say, I'll give you $350, or you're not going to get anybody calling you at all, and then you're way too high, especially on a house that's not dysfunctional. So stage 1, slot deals, stage 2, option deals, is just testing. You're testing your buyer, you're testing the market, you're testing what people actually need and want, because why not do a survey and find out what people want? Survey goes like this. You're in a crowd full of people. Let's say Woodstock, just because it's an old image, but you're at Woodstock and thousands and tens of thousands of people are standing in the mud. And this is before bottled water. And you ask anybody want a glass of water?
We had a jug of water.
Yeah.
But there were 5 guys and actually half a jug of water.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there.
Right.
Go ahead.
Do you want a hamburger? Do you want a sandwich? They didn't bring food. There was no preparation. You couldn't get in and out. There was no food stands. There was nothing, right? So the best way to make money is to be in the middle of that crowd with a bunch of hamburgers and bottled water and sell them for $25 a piece because it's needed and wanted. So this is what we're trying to figure out. What houses are the best houses to sell in any market? And then we're going to go find those sellers and we're going to go to them and say, hey, we just sold a house and we have a bunch of leftover buyers. You want to sell your house for 33% over market value? Oh yeah, by the way, last thing I want to say in this, I'm going to move on because I'm spending too much time on this. The realtor puts an offer together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they get their data from?
Same place we do.
No.
What?
The realtor gets their data from the buyer. We don't get our data from the buyer.
Yeah, no. When you talk to a realtor and tell them the price, the realtor doesn't say, I think it's too high. They say, sure, let's go with it. And then they find out from the buyer. So you're right. Eventually, they just let it roll, let the dice go.
So they're surveying the market to see what the house will sell for based on how much activity there is, right?
Sure.
I have a realtor selling a house for me right now, and he's actually $100,000 higher than I thought the house was worth.
Whoa.
And in 4 days, we had 22 people in it, and I've got 3 offers.
Holy crap!
I guess he was right.
100,000 more than you thought.
And I guess he was right.
Well, he does it all the time, so he has his pulse on the market and the buyers because he's in the middle of it at that point.
So all I'm saying is we have to test before we can invest. Which, by the way, the buyer is going to come back to us and say, "Oh, this is what I'm willing to pay." And oh yeah, by the way, how did the buyer come up with his number? How do buyers know how much to pay for a house? Where do they get the money from?
Well, they have to get it from a bank.
And what does the bank do?
Pre-qualify them.
And what else do they do before they give them the money?
Qualify them. I don't know.
Peter.
I give up.
They appraise the house.
Oh, at that point, yeah.
Right? So the buyer and the bank made up the number. So why are you spending all this time learning about what to talk to sellers about and how to talk to sellers and what offers to make them? No, get the house on consignment, put it on the market, and let the buyers and the bankers and all the people involved tell us. We go back to the seller and we say, hey, and the seller says yes, no, or he adjusts. All the time you're spending watching YouTube channels and trying to figure out how to talk to a seller is a waste of time these days. Stage 1, stage 2, testing the market. Now, stage 3, we're still testing. But now what we're testing is, because by now you would have done a couple of slot deals or a couple of slot deals. I'm sorry, slot deals and option deals. You would have done all cash deals, and you would have done a couple of slot deals, which is technically a rent to own that you don't stay in because you're selling the deal to somebody else. So you're only getting money now on both deals. Money now on stage 1, money now on stage 2. But now you want to test, how do you get monthly income out of this deal? Because you want to stay in the deal. Well, you don't go buy properties and get deeds in your name. What you're going to want to do is you want to get them on a rent to own, which is a lease with an option. The lease with an option is going to give you 15% worth of equity and 20 or 25% worth of cash flow. Right? So by now in stage 3, when you start doing these deals, you have a concept of what the market is potentially doing because you've talked to enough buyers, and now you're starting to poke into, I'm going to stay in the deal a little bit longer and I'm going to check it out. But I'm not ready to invest money. I'm not ready to go get a deed in my name and take all that risk and all that kind of. I'm not ready for that yet. I'm ready to take the next level, which is do a rent to own, right? Find out what's needed and wanted from the long-term buyer, right? Now what you're testing is staying in the deal, right? You're testing your money now, money monthly, money later. You're testing your time skills. You're testing how good our tenant or buyers, our tenant buyer is going to perform, right? How to collect the monthly payments, how to deal with eviction if they don't pay, which you're not going to worry about. I mean, you're going to worry about it, but you have money now, the down payment money, as a cushion to pay it, but you're still going to have to deal with the problem, right? We're learning the financial and operational end of the business. It's no longer about the houses. The market. So stage 1 and stage 2 is testing the market. Well, now you've tested the market, and now you're going to stay into the deal by getting a lease with an option to purchase for 3 years or 5 years or 7 years or whatever you're going to get, right? And now you're going to test the financial and operational side of the business. How does this work? How do we actually collect the money? How do we pay the bills, right? How do we have insurance, right? How do we deal with all this stuff while you're controlling the property? Now, here's an amazing thing, Peter. Here's an amazing thing to me. You got a 7-year lease on this property with an option to own, and you're going to do 2-year option leases with your sellers. At any given time, you don't want this deal anymore. You don't like it. It's annoying you. You're getting divorced and you don't want to do real estate anymore. You got ill, your parents, you want to go skiing, whatever it may be. You can walk away from this deal. All you need to do is to advertise this deal to an investor to give you a couple bucks, and you assign the option to the investor, and you're done. No closings, no nothing. One signature. You spend 3 or 4 days or a week looking for another investor that wants this deal, or deals if you've got multiple of them. Like, for example, this house I'm selling that I'm telling you about is a multifamily house. I got an offer this morning, right? They're pre-qualified. They're investors. So first thing I said is I got 2 more behind it that haven't been hit to MLS. I said to my guy, find out if they want to buy 244. Let's do this deal, and then maybe we'll sell them the other 2 too. Right?
Wow.
Because they're already in that business.
Yeah. Well, that's what you attract, especially with multifamily. You attract those guys. There they are. And they're just looking for them. So
you think if you got tired of this deal and you got in the middle of this deal and you got tired of it, that you're stuck with it? No, you're not stuck with it. So you're still testing. So we're all the way down to stage 3. And we're still testing. We're testing different aspects of the business by doing these transactions. Right? And we're making money while we're learning. So we make $3,000. You spend $3,000 on your education. You learn more. Or buy software, or buy leads, or get somebody to help you. Whatever you do. But now you have the money. It's a self-liquidating business. Right? Stage 4. Wealth building. Now pay attention to this, Peter, because this was like, oh my God. Oh my God. When I hit this, this happened to me while I was driving. This whole concept came to me. I had to park my car, and I did a layout for the book I'm going to write. For about 2 hours in my car, smoking a cigar, talking to my phone, doing the layout for the book. Because I couldn't see the windshield anymore. It was pretty wild, right? So stage 4, we're wealth building. In this stage, we start investing methods. We start using investment methods like subject to, owner financing, wraparound mortgages, that kind of stuff. At this stage, we're confident on what our buyers need and want, and we're ready to do small investments. Small investments of money. Like $5,000, $10,000, or anything less than $25,000. So we're going to invest less than $25,000. Here's the thing. We're not paying for the entire house. We're just paying for small amounts, like a subject to deal. We might pay $10,000 for past payments.
Right.
But we're getting the deed in our name so we can put money into the deal. We're also getting 20% worth of equity. So the market, if the market swings, which most markets don't swing more than 20%, high or low, we're not losing money. Now Florida and Las Vegas swing more than 20%. But see what I mean? We're like in a transition period of testing and investing. We're not putting all the money into the deal. We're just putting a little bit of money into the deal. And if you did your job right with stage 1, 2, and 3, you should have some chunks of dough that you can now catch up payments and don't need to get a private lender.
Mm.
Because now you got 10 grand to invest in a subject to deal.
Sure.
That fell in your lap. And oh yeah, by the way, the leads are now compounding because you know what to do with them, right? The analogy is just like money. You got a garden hose that's 6 foot long, right? And on the left side of the garden hose, you have the water supply, say the water spigot. Mm-hmm. On the right side of the garden hose, you have water just pouring out, right?
Yeah.
If you plug the right side of the hole, the right side of the hose, the water stops moving, doesn't it?
Yep.
When you don't spend money, that's how your money is. The money doesn't flow anymore. It's just stopped, and it just eats itself up. It rots the hose. Mm-hmm. Because you need to spend money so the money keeps moving, so it doesn't create a barrier or stoppage. Money's an energy. It has to move. So if it's not moving, it will eat itself up. Just put money in a savings account, but without naming the savings account. And sure enough, your car will break and your furnace will break, and you got to go away because your mother died and you got to spend money for airplane, whatever. Mm-hmm. Right? So what I'm saying is your leads are the same way. If you have leads and you're not making deals like we're talking about, then your leads will get stagnant and you won't be making deals. Leads are the same way. They're made to be used and abused. They're made to go through the pipeline. So you need to be making these deals so you get more deals. More leads. The more deals you make, the more leads you'll get. It's like a flywheel. It's like a perpetual machine.
Well, I don't know if it's obvious, but when you talk to a seller, if you only have one deal you know how to do, you're limiting yourself, because if they don't want to do that, they don't do it. If you have like 3 or 4 or 5, if you have all the options you could do, you can do whatever the seller needs and not lose a deal.
Exactly. All right. So let me see where we are here. Stage 4 is small investments. This is where we're going to do subject to deals. We're going to put down payments on seller financing. We're going to do wraparound mortgages, which is seller financing in a way. We're going to do agreement for deeds, which is a mortgage without getting the deed, right? We're going to do these type of transactions. By the way, do you need to know how to do those deals at first? No. What you need to do is you need to understand how the transaction works, which is why you're going to do stage 1, 2, and 3, so you can go through some transactions and know what buyers and sellers are going to do and get some experience before you get to this level of investing. Because now you're going to have experience, right?
Yep.
At this stage, we're not looking to invest all the money, right? We're just looking to invest a piece of the money to get into the deal. Small chunks of dough, like I said, which you should have already. Okay? Sure. Now, stage 5, which is your portfolio expansion, is your advanced scaling, right? Is where we are comfortable by knowing stage 1 through 4. So we went through stage 1 with the slot deal and tested the market. We went through stage 2 and did some cash deals, right? So we tested some slot deals with money, with the seller and got money now. Stage 2, we did some cash deals. So we know how cash deals, because all these closings are different. Stage 3, we stayed in a deal for a little bit of money. For a little bit of time. Maybe it's a 3-year contract, but we stayed in it for 3 months or 4 months or whatever, and we're comfortable with it. Then stage 4, we decided, okay, I'm going to take some of these down payments that I'm getting, and I'm going to buy a subject to deal and catch somebody up on payments and put $8,000 into the deal. And now we're going to sell that, and we're going to be comfortable with that. Mm-hmm. See, it's a comfort level, right? Now stage 5, we're comfortable with all that, right? We're comfortable with knowing how to do stage 1 through stage 4, and we're able to now do fix and flips. What do fix and flips need? Money. Now we're doing the whole deal. We're paying for the whole deal. Or somebody wants all cash, right? Now my
Yeah.
all cash prices are 70% loan to value ratio, right? So if somebody wants 70%, I can give them all cash because I can get a good return on the money, right? Also, you're comfortable with this, right? Now you're being an investor. Now realize the difference between the word investor and the difference between entrepreneur is investor means you have money and you're looking for a rate of return. Most of us don't have money, so we're not investors. Instead, we're entrepreneurs. An entrepreneur has the resources to get the closing, to find the seller, to find a buyer, to get the money in the deal, to do the paperwork, all these things. They have all these resources. So that's what we really are, is we're entrepreneurs. We're not investors. Until you get to stage 5, now you're actually an investor and an entrepreneur. You're going to start wanting to investing some of your money, paying 70% cash and buying houses that way, or getting private loans, right? Right? That kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between stage 4 and stage 5 is your money in stage 4, where it's a little bit of money, is going to be second mortgages, right? So the bank has $150,000 mortgage. You're going to put in 10 grand, or get a hard money lender to put in 10 grand. You're going to be in second position. In stage 5, you're going to pay cash for the house, so you're going to be in first position on the mortgage, on the lien, because you're putting all the money into the house. But by now, you've done enough deals. You know the market. You know what's going on. You have a real good idea of what's happening. And you're comfortable with doing this. Mm-hmm. You're comfortable with the debt. Right? Does that make sense?
Right, because by this point, you would know if the price you're offering on the house is safe. That's what people worry about. It. Did I overpay? I'm in trouble. You would know. No, that's a safe number in this market because I know what they sell for.
We walked through the market and we decided this is a good market, and we keep making money. And we know that we've sold a bunch of houses already because the buyer's willing to do this. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah, Stage 6.
One advantage is when it's renovated, you know it's going to be a really nice house too.
Right.
You know, it's a nice house and people are going to like it. So you know you're going to get top dollar. You're not going to get, oh, it's outdated, or, the trouble is because you fix it up real nice.
Right. But you could do fix and flips here. You could do, we do wholesale deals by accident.
Yeah.
Because when we make our offers, we just make it so that we can always wholesale it if we don't want to deal it. Sometimes you'll have too many projects or too many things going on and you don't want to deal with the house, and you just go wholesale it for 30 grand. Mm-hmm. Right? Because you got too many projects and too many deals, or you got other things going on, right? Mm-hmm. All right, so stage 6. This is where we have a machine running now. Because as we went through these deals, we needed to solve more and more problems. And problems like calling all the leads, problems like, having a so the first, I'm going to leak it out here, but I'm going to talk about this in the book. The first position anybody should ever hire. So you're doing deals yourself. The first position, which I've made this mistake, I'm making this mistake right now. I make this mistake over and over and over again. First person anybody should ever hire is an admin person, an admin secretary. And that admin secretary should go into your software, into your system, and go through everything to make sure that nothing's getting missed. Sellers are being contacted. Offers are being made. Sellers are signing documents. Once you get documents signed, the checklists are being run on the properties that need to be put on the market. Then the next position you should hire is you should hire a person to sell your houses. And then the last position you should hire should be to replace you, which is buying the houses. And you should do it in that order. Okay? So that's what I mean. You have a machine running. You have these 3 people or 4 people running your business, because you don't need a lot of people to run this business. And you've mastered acquiring leads, converting the leads into deals, and generating cash consistently, making profits off of these deals. So your income is steady. You sell this many houses a month, or you make this much money a year, and you can allocate it off to the people. It's a steady income. Also, things run smoothly whether you are there or not. This becomes a new testing element. When you first start, you'll take a week off. Then you'll take 2 weeks off. Then you'll take a month off. Then you'll take 2 months off. And then you'll take 3 months off, or however you do it, until eventually you'll realize you don't need to be there. Right? And you're constantly testing enough to you're testing the investment deals enough to know that how to manage or delegate your work. You know how to do all that now. You have processes and automation. You have a portfolio performance, so you know how much your portfolio is performing, right? You're ensuring passive income is stable at stage 6, right? Now the test becomes what periods of time you can have off, like I just said to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're working on team building and a whole new layer of profit building in itself, because now it stops becoming the house is making you profit. Now it's you have a business, no different than a plumber, no different than an electrician or a mortgage guy. They have a business, so the business is now worth something. So now you have 2 profits. You have a passive income from the properties and the products you're buying and selling, doing transactions for buyers and sellers so they have trouble saying no. And you have your business where you're acquiring leads and you have customers and you have properties and portfolios and managing and all that. So you could sell individual assets like I'm doing right now for money, or you can sell the business as a whole with the portfolio. Or you could do like what we're doing here. You could actually sell the business model and franchise it. It's a whole different level, right? So in summary, the money now, money monthly, money later formula is more than just a calculation, Peter.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a framework for testing, then investing, and making the proper decisions on risk, profits, time, and market analysis in a progressing system process that allows us to learn while we earn. Gone are the days of spending $30,000 for coaching. Right? You go from an apprentice to a master craftsman, not just by building a portfolio, but by building a legacy. You'll build a legacy without luck. It'll be just pure skill. Like I said, I'm about halfway through the book that I'm going to write on this because I think this is a huge evolution for creative real estate, because nobody has ever created anything like I just told you today. I feel like I skimped on it because we only had 57 minutes or 60 minutes for me to do this. The book will explain it a whole lot more. Behind the book will be the newsletter is going to be all about this. The new newsletter I come out with. It's called Creative Real Estate Dealology, the study of deals. Right. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a weekly newsletter. It will come out on Saturdays by email. And in that newsletter, there will be tools that you can use to do transactions, for $20 a month type tools. And on top of that, there will be an association being formed, which I already have done, and you'll be able to get in a group and be able to talk about these types of deals and what stage you're in and how to get help. And at some point, we will probably have a mastermind about going through these stages. So it is the beginning of a new evolution. It is a new day for creative real estate. And you have officially heard the announcement of it today. And I hope you have the foresight to realize that this strategy is just pure nature. It's following nature's laws and how deals are done, and that it could do nothing but help you make creative real estate simple and easy in your mind, and always be doing the next step. And you will soon realize that that's how you will progress, is step by step, knowing what your next step is, knowing what your final step is, and always keeping your eye on the mountain so you can build your real estate investment career into a legacy. So with that said, I know I did most of the talking today, Peter. Thank you for letting me do that. Make sure you subscribe to us. Make sure you like us. If you want any information, you can go to flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com. If you leave us a 5-star review and send me evidence of that 5-star review at flippinghousesforrookies.com, I will give you any one of the courses we talked about in the past, the calculator we talked about today for the calculator and script, which we talked about how to give somebody 33% over market value. I will give that to you for free if you leave a 5-star review. Take a picture of it, send it to me at flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com, and I will share that tool with you so you too can start talking to your sellers about giving them 33% over market value. Okay? Anything else you need to say, Peter?
No, I'm just a listener today. It was good, though. What I like about it best is you said it, like this is the natural laws. This is just a sequence, the very natural things you have to learn. Rather than trying to take real estate and learn all of it all at once, you're just feeling completely overwhelmed. It's ridiculous. You have to start with like the basics, learn how to do this stage, this little piece by piece. So you can't do that if you try to tackle a huge renovation deal, your first deal. So this should be how it's learned. You might as well lay it out and learn it in stages. It's perfect.
Exactly. Well, thank you. All right. Over and out. We're done with podcast number 442. It's in the books. And we're off to podcast number 443. Until then, flourish and prosper. And thanks for all your support. Good day.